Hello there and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I am Victor Matthias. Now, while the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has saluted the pivotal role technology played in the conduct of the 2015 general elections, the body has again stressed the need for deploying more technology in future elections. INEC wants to build on the limited introduction of technology in the 2015 general election. For the first time ever, two landmark devices, the permanent voter card and the smart card reader, were used in the elections. And that's what we will be beaming our searchlights on. But first, let's go through the trends in the past week on social media. Sweeps took their online activism offline to boycott banking halls to protest the excessive bank charges customers pay. S.A. Oruru trended for the second week running after she was finally reunited with her family and friends. Diverging views have, however, continued to trail the abduction and release of the teenager, whom reports say is a few months pregnant. And sadly, the death of the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, James Ocholi, his wife and son sensed the nation to mourning. The Twitter world couldn't hold their grief. They took to their accounts and consoled with the family and friends of the late minister. Well, those were the trends. Now joining me on the program today is an elections and technology consultant, Fatu Oguche, a digital media and communications strategist, Olamide Agbayelo, and a Nigerian in the diaspora, Ben Cosmos. Guys, it's a pleasure to have you guys on the program. But Fatu, let me just start with you. What roles do you think technology can play henceforth in the conduct of elections in Nigeria?
A lot of it also has to do with education, especially in most of these communities, because sometimes we tend to take for granted what technology in elections really is, not knowing that there are different facets to deploying technology for elections. So you have people just saying, okay, how can we make elections better in Nigeria? And the first thing they say is, oh, e-voting. Like e-voting is going to solve all the problems. But if you don't start from the scratch and start dealing with the manual processes, educating the public, consulting people on the best ways to deploy this technology, and also just making it as transparent as possible and as open as possible so that people, voters, citizens can understand what this technology is meant to do for them and how it can aid the conduct of the elections and how that will make their lives easier down the line. You cannot just decide to say, okay, we're going to have e-voting in the next elections, and then nobody understands it. I think there's a lot that has to do with understanding how the deployment of the candidates and the permanent voters card worked out in the previous elections, and seeing how lessons can be learned from that in terms of deploying any other kind of future technology in the elections. There has to be education. You have to really talk to people, voters that are in the field, because we all say this all the time, elections are really local. They all start locally. And for the way that we've been conducting elections in Nigeria for a really long time, we realize that everything starts local. Most of them are the ones that actually come out to vote. That's why most of the time you see that politicians actually focus their attention on grassroots voters because they know they are the ones that come out to vote.
I can say that firstly, we're making progress, but we're a little far behind. I think first of all, we need to educate the Nigerian populace. INEC needs to do more. We need to invest more in our local. I'm putting local in quotation marks. Our local programmers here in Nigeria. A lot of people are doing a lot of things. I was opportune to meet the guy who developed the software that was used at the E-Nigerian conference last year. And I can tell you that even within INEC, there's still quite a number of people, quite a number of INEC staff were opposed to using technology. So awareness has to start from within. That's from within INEC. INEC has to up their game, as to improving their ICT, the capacity of the ICT staff. So it is only what they know that they can, pass on to other people and all that.
There were other challenges that had to be dealt with during the last administration. So, for example, people from the diaspora voting and e-voting was not really at the forefront. But now, the new administration has definitely shown commitment to making sure that technology is a part of electoral process going forward. But I think one of the things that also has to happen is also engagement with the National Assembly. They believe that these things have to happen, that to make our elections better, we have to find a way to deploy some sort of technology, and also make sure that Nigerian citizens everywhere, whichever part of the world that they are in, can also be able to vote in the process. But yeah, they say these things, and it sounds good, and it makes for good sound bites, but how committed are they really? And with all the engagement that the Electoral Commission, civil society organizations has had with the National Assembly in terms of making this work, has just shown little to no progress really, because for some of them, I should say, they actually feel that if they pass this law, it's going to affect them somehow, because most of them know the way that they got into office in the first place. So that if you're sitting there and telling them, oh, these are all these great things that technology can do for our elections, can make them more open, make them more transparent, and all the other great things that technology can do for elections.
All right, guys, let's just hold it for a while. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.